Cinder's OHV, now known as Cinders, Arizona. We somehow figured out how to film episode 3 out here.
Somehow,
it was very interesting. But episode 3 is done with filming, and I think we're feeling pretty good going into the editing side of it.
This is the most challenging episode yet, 100%, just because of the terrain out here and the availability of jumps is dismal at best. Everything out here it's weird because it'll stand straight up for all the hill climbs, but when you try to go around and find a jump, everything's rounded off. So it's really strange. Even the top of the volcanoes are rounded off. There's no like points or lips, or everything's rounded off. So it's really difficult. And
I think there's nothing for this to stick to, right? So if you're like, if your tires are carving in tracks, it's all like round, minced up lava rock, so it just falls back into it or rounds off. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's like if anyone's ever driven in a gravel parking lot and you try to go fast and it just immediately just bury yourself. It's the same kind of situation.
Dweezy said it was like a runaway truck ramp.
Yeah.
For 5,000 acres.
Very much so.
Runaway
Especially-
truck ramp for 5,000 acres.
It
Especially on
doesn't
the
change
bikes.
throughout the whole OHV.
No. I mean, some areas has some hard pack right under, but a lot of the areas it's as deep as, you see some of these berms, it's 6 feet deep.
Yeah. Speaking of berms, the berms that are inside the forest.
Yeah.
I was tripping today. We found a jump. I don't know, a berm jump, kind of a cool like creative line. And we passed that 30 times this whole trip until we were walking on foot into the middle of the pine trees, and then there's like this sick ass berm track, like a moto track,
Yeah.
built up. I don't know how they're all over out here. I don't know if those naturally form from side by sides or.
It's got to be someone just hitting that line over years and the wind blowing it up and keeping it. I don't know. It's a trip.
It's odd. Cool though.
Still a fun
Totally
jump.
cool.
It wasn't huge, but it was fun.
No.
And just to find a small jump out here is problematic. We went out and found a couple spots that had some promising locations for jumps, and then we went we shot for 3 days. After the first day and the half of the second day, we went like a day and a half without finding one jump, and we were pretty dejected at that time. We had a really tough meeting in the motorhome where we didn't have enough for an episode basically, and everybody was we kind of mentioned that we didn't have enough, and we scrambled. We were throwing shit at the wall to see if it would stick, and we came up with like 35 minutes of terrible ideas. Every single idea was terrible, and then I think it was Nick that mentioned this is going to be a lot of work, but maybe we should sequence the 777 loop, which includes 2 jumps, major whoop line, some high speed stuff, some tree weaving through the trees. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got some downhill. It's got we did some really creative stuff with the photography of it. So I think it's going to turn out to be basically a episode saving bonus location banger before the bangers. Obviously, if you've seen Flight School, you know that there's multiple endings. So stay tuned for the multiple endings on this one. We're going to keep that theme. Some people don't like it, but we enjoy it. So stay tuned. When you see a logo, it doesn't mean it's over.
And I think even though as challenging as it was to get the loop, I think that, or as challenging as we thought it might be, it ended up not being terrible to do.
We basically executed exactly time-wise, and the way we wrote it down on a piece of paper last night, we executed it to a T with time. Everything worked out exactly how we walked it through last night. We didn't have any problems, 0 problems. We did exactly what we said we were going to do, and we nailed it. So now it's just we got the footage in the can, and it's time to basically cook that edit up, and I think we've got plenty to make that edit really cool. Hopefully, my goal is that when we do that edit, that that we can actually see continuity for the whole 11 miles. It's 11 miles, right?
It's like
Or 9.5. Yeah,
like that.
so 9.5 miles. I want to convey the continuity of the loop, because it's actually, the loop out here is runs on the main road, goes out to the 777, and then 777 runs down through the double crater, hits the OG Cinder's jump, which everybody hits out here. It's basically the only jump that I've seen on social media out here. It's only one jump, and hits that jump, and then continues on down to Little Cinder Basin, where that's a high-speed spot, and then down the hill, and then there's a giant whoop section that goes for 2 miles from the base of the volcanoes into camp here. So, like I said, my goal is to hopefully allow you guys to see the continuity of that trail. It's a really cool trail. I would suggest.
What's sick about it too is we didn't have to lie about the storyline for that loop.
No.
Like, it's legit a 9.5 mile fluid loop, you know?
Yeah.
Minus the only time you turned back was for the Telling Dam. And you just like stopped, looked at it, it was kind of a cool thing, and you just hit it real quick and then got back on your loop.
Yeah, and then you gotta look out for the Black Mountain detour, we're calling it. So there's a Black Mountain detour which doesn't stay on 777. There's just a really cool kind of volcanic rock dam, or I guess you call it kind of a ridge. And it's you'll see it multiple directions on the episode. It's pretty epic ridge for shooting, because there's no trees there, like 0 trees, and
Yeah.
you can see for a couple miles. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the same hill that we did that high speed downhill a couple days prior to shooting the loop. But yeah, compared to Michigan, I think this was definitely a challenging episode to shoot, but we have like unlimited camera angles compared to Silver Lake, Michigan.
Yeah, Silver Lake was a challenge, but
All Cheerios stuff worked the entire trip this time.
the GoPros actually liked me, and it's kind of a bummer because this is going to be released in like probably 2 or 3, actually more than a month from when we're filming this probably. We've got 2 brand new GoPro 13s on order. Shout out to Dustin and shout out to GoPro for the support and all the
Big sponsor guy.
yeah, all the troubleshooting tips they've been giving us. So we got 2 new 13s on the way for our next location. I'm excited to start using those.
So this time all his equipment worked. Paul tried to take out his equipment this time.
Paul, yeah, he shattered.
Yeah, you might see a reel later. I don't know if it'll be in the episode, but you might see a reel later where there's a giant boulder. I don't know. It was like softball size.
It's pretty big.
It was
And
freaking huge.
Cheery's flying his drone 30, 40 feet above the truck, and I shoot this like softball-sized boulder out of the back of the tire at 85 miles an hour, and it hits his drone 30 to 40 feet in the air. Doesn't even knock it out of the sky, just cracks the lens, and then he just keeps flying.
Yeah.
I bet you if it wasn't lava rock, it probably would have destroyed your drone.
Yeah.
If it was like a fat rock.
If it was
yeah.
a real rock.
I'm surprised that thing still flies.
Stuff's so light.
I actually flew it for another 2 or 3 runs past that. We flew it at the OG jump. Then we had some unexpected rain. And I kind of had to just bring it down from there. But it's still flying after that.
Yeah.
As far as the challenges go for each episode, Swing Arm City was our first go at it, so we didn't know what we were doing. We think we nailed it, regardless of not knowing what we were doing. We had the terrain out there was basically plentiful. There's jumps everywhere. As far as flight school goes, I mean, obviously it's an epic place to off-road, even if you have a Jeep or whatever out in swing arm. So, but we had all the terrain we wanted and all the time we needed, and we just were green. And then Michigan, we had equipment failure after equipment failure. Nobody's fault, just when you're just running into technical issues, and sometimes there's nothing you can do about that. And then so Michigan had the technical issues, and then it also had the fact that the dunes were small. There's not a large area out there. It's about 1 square mile, and so there's only so much you can do out there. And then the traffic issue with the tourists and the small amount of area that's they don't have like a limit of how many people can be out there, so it can just be packed at any given point. Tried to get out there in the morning, do our best with that, but that was a very challenging one from that standpoint. And then this one came into it with a ton of confidence, thinking that we were gonna just, you know,
jump out of a volcano.
We thought we were gonna jump out of a volcano.
Would have been
If
sick.
you look at Google Earth, these volcanoes, it looks very doable to jump out of a volcano. You see like a trail that goes like this, and then you get, Cherry flew one of them, you get to the top of the volcano, which was a mission to get to the top of it. And it's what, I don't know, 700 feet down?
Yep.
800 feet down into the bottom of the volcano. There's no jumping out of it.
No, and there's no lip at the top either. It's rounded off. It looks sharp when you look at it on Google Earth. It looks sharp when you look at them just in the background. They look like they would have sharp edges to them, but nothing is sharp around here. Everything's rounded off. Even when you get up on top of these big volcanoes, there's Jeep two tracks that go all the way around the rim. So for Jeeping out here, like, I would say it's like probably like top notch. I mean, for Jeeping, like, it's just it would be the number one spot you'd want to go. It's insane for if you have a good power and 4-wheel drive, you could go up a lot of these roads and not have an issue.
Well, the scenery is beautiful.
Yeah.
If you like hill climbing on dirt bikes, this has got to be some of the biggest hill climbs I've seen. I've been to Jawbone. Jawbone Canyon's the only one that would be similar, but this is bigger than Jawbone, and it's more challenging because of the lava rock.
I think it's super intimidating too. Like,
Yeah.
I legit accidentally got stuck on some hill climbs. Like, we were on a trail all together on the pit bike, so I was on my bike and I thought, oh, I'll just go around this trail and head this way. And all of a sudden you're like in a 1.5 mile long hill climb, and you can't see the hill climb because there's more and more trees, you know, and then you finally get to the top and you're like looking over the entire valley. It's pretty wild here.
Yeah.
So for pre-runners, not the business necessarily. I mean, it's cool to cruise. Like, if you enjoy just going fast through trails, that's awesome. I think it's great for that. You got 5,000 acres of, I don't know if it's exactly 5,000 acres, but you got 5,000 acres of burnt in lines everywhere. You don't have to go into the volcano area, and there's crisscrossing trails all through this place that you could go fast in. You could dodge trees, you could drift your truck, you can hit
Tons
berms.
of whoops.
Yeah.
Tons of whoops, all that stuff.
And the whoops are soft, like kind of padded because the
Yeah, you definitely want to air down, and you can go super low. I mean, you could be 6-8 psi. It's not gonna be a problem out here. There's no like sharp edge rocks that are gonna cut your tire. I mean, there might be a couple,
Roots.
but
roots.
you can hit roots with the low pressure though. It just really doesn't do anything to the tires if you got good, you know, off-road tires.
777 loop has one gnarly root.
Yeah.
It's like a boulder size that sticks out of the ground.
But yeah, I mean, for pre-runners, if you like just going fast and hitting trails, and it's like a driving haven for people that just like to drive their pre-runner. But this is called flight school, so you know we're obviously we're here to find jumps, you know. So I think if I was here to just have a good time, like obviously I have a good time doing flight school. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes it seems serious at times, but we have to take it serious because that's the way we're approaching this whole series. Is, you know, we obviously off camera and stuff, we're cracking jokes and stuff like that, but you know, we're here to find as many jumps as we can. We thought we were going to come here and find 20 jumps, 25 jumps, and be like, oh, these guys don't know how to look for jumps or whatever. Like, these pre-runner guys may be out here, I don't know. It's not our hometown, so it's hard to like stomp on somebody else's turf. But you come out here and you're like, oh, we'll find jumps, you know, it won't be a problem. But you get out here and like, there's just nothing out here. Like, I think we have 5 locations where there's actual jumps going on, and then a couple of like creative locations that we just found some stuff we could catch air off of.
And they're not Swing Arm City style jumps.
No.
And how hard did we look for jumps?
We literally scouted for, like, we started the night we got here. Probably 80% of our time here was spent scouting.
Yeah.
We were always scouting, even when we were seriously shooting that loop, the 777 loop, we were still scouting. And so that counts as scouting as well, but we covered a lot of ground. I mean, I don't think, unless there's some hidden jumps somewhere else, but we circled back on Google Earth and tried to find some stuff on Google Earth after we got our bearings of exactly how this place kind of works. Then we went back on Google Earth to try to see if we could find another patch where there could be some smaller type rolling hills that we could find, and we went to a location where we were super excited about, and there was nothing there either, and we started to get super bummed out. But I'm really proud of us last night as a group, because we were arguing. I mean, we can argue. We're adults, so it's not a big deal if we're raising our voice or
frustration. And
yeah, we're all frustrated. Yeah. We're not finding what we want. We're hoping to get a bank. We put a high standard out there for Swing Arm City and Silver Lake and future episodes. We have a high standard for what we want to put out. And when you just don't have the content that you want, you're gonna get frustrated. So obviously,
the goal is to get better each episode, not digress in these episodes.
Obviously, as a driver, I was frustrated because I couldn't showcase what we're supposed to be doing, which is jump hunting. It's very difficult to jump hunt out here. It takes a lot of effort. You could spend 6 hours and find nothing. You could spend 8 hours and find nothing.
You really need bikes to be able to do that. Yeah, you can't just come out here with your truck.
Yeah, you'll overheat your truck out here if you try to cruise around this stuff.
UTV or a Jeep or something, it might be better, but
I think the whole idea of flight school, jump hunting, freestyle pre-running, like this is part of it, right? Yeah. You're not gonna, like freestyle moto guys, they might go into the hills somewhere. They're not always gonna find some epic hits, but you make do with what you can. We're already out here, so make the best of it as a freestyle pre-runner and do what you can with it. And I think we showed this week that we did as much as we can with Cinders, and like how much more could you do here?
Yeah,
we did everything we could do with what we had. It's not a bad thing. It's just, and it's actually, we'll probably look back on this one and we might actually personally think it's one of our best pieces because of how challenging it was here with the terrain. And actually maybe my driving skill morphed a little bit based on where I was at mentally with the way the jumps were. When we first got here, we had too high air pressure. I was very timid to go anywhere because I didn't want to get stuck because there's no one out here to save us. All we have is a dually and a motorhome. We can't, if I got stuck up in the gravel somewhere in the hills, we would have to basically get it out by hand. Or call somebody because
I don't even know how you dig it out of this stuff.
So I was super timid I was super timid when we first got here. Like I didn't feel comfortable at all. I was like a deer on ice basically. And then I think by today, I literally flip-flopped that all the way around and I felt 100% comfortable in this terrain once we got the truck dialed exactly how I started getting comfortable with the way that the dirt would slide and hold me and not hold me and all that stuff. And so once I dialed that in, I just decided like I'm gonna have to change the way that we approach this, and that's why we thought about the loop, because it's like if we can't showcase jumping, then we got to showcase other stuff with pre-runners. It may not like be super conducive to flight school, but it still needs to be in the episodes, I think, with whoops and high speeds and drifting your truck and trying to corner and do all that stuff. I think that's kind of more showcased in this because I had to. And so when the rubber hits the road, it's time to go out and do something a little different. So hopefully you guys will see some drifting close to trees and all of that kind of stuff. And
one thing I appreciated about you this trip, and it kind of showed a different side of you, is you have this luxury pre-runner, and we come out here, everything's narrow. His truck's wider than most of the trails out here.
Yeah.
And you just hammer down. We had 8 incident hitting a tree. I think more than twice.
Well, I mean, I was constantly hitting branches. I was just constantly hitting branches and tearing up the side of the truck. They'll buff out, I think, but.
Yeah, but it was just cool to see you not afraid to use your vehicle. We're out here, have fun with it. And it was nice having Nick out here. He took the fender off, bent everything back, put the fender on. Paul came back and buffed it out.
Yep.
It was cool having Nick out here this time.
Yeah.
Definitely different.
Yeah, this is a new addition to the flight school crew. Nick Ewing with Ewing Motorsports. He's been working on the truck for quite some time. He's been in the background so far at my house, at my shop.
You may know him as the metal guy.
Yeah, you might have seen him in some of the Scion stuff. But we decided to bring him along and have him be a part of it. He voiced his opinion that he wanted to be a part of it on the last 2 episodes. Didn't have the schedule to do it, maybe, and super excited to have him actually be a part of it. He doubles as a camera guy as well, and
he kicked ass on cameras.
Kicked ass on cameras,
Oh, yeah.
and then I didn't have to wake up early and like make sure that the oil's topped off and all that stuff. He's willing to jump under the truck and check things out. And I mean, obviously, I did it at Swing Arm. I did it at Silver Lake. Well, me and Cheery did it at Silver Lake, and I pretty much took care of it at Swing Arm. But it's nice to have someone that's fully dedicated to that, because I got my mind is buried in other things, like just trying to. I was saying last night how basically we get these ideas that are a little bit crazy at times, and then we're like, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do that, and then you're gonna jump over this, and then you're gonna drive out, and then you're gonna go around that tree or whatever. And we come up with these crazy ideas, and then everybody's like, yeah, let's just do it. And then I have to like actually build up the muster as the driver to like take my truck and do what we plan to do.
Right.
And that's like, everybody kind of, I think, takes it for granted. It's like, oh, Paul's just gonna do it, so we're good. But then I have to like wrap my mind around it too. Like, I sometimes I get nervous on jumps and stuff like that, and so it's I don't think anybody in the group, I'm not sure, maybe they are thinking about it, but I always feel like it's like an automatic thing. Like I'm automatic, like it's time to be like I'm a 3-point shooter and I just never miss.
Well, I mean, I feel like to a point, this is our jobs.
Yeah.
Like this is what we
Yeah.
do. So that's like you're a part of it. And you talk about you want to hit like a 200+ foot jump all the time. So I think that's your mentality. So when it comes, I mean, obviously today you showed a lot of driving skill and what you can do.
Paul
like
definitely
an animal.
definitely has driving skill besides just jumps.
Yeah.
Um,
Wanted
it's
to
cool
say
to-
one thing with Nick real quick before we get off Ewing Motorsports, but the Holly situation we had, the truck
Oh,
wouldn't even
yeah.
run the first day, and that was cool.
Yeah.
I think we got some BTS of that.
mhm.
I don't know how that works, but you got somebody to log in basically to the truck
Yep.
and fix it.
Remote in.
Remote in for the elevation.
Use the Starlink and remote in, and basically it takes over the computer and can get into the Holly software and make changes on the fly and take some logs. We ripped it and fixed it, and
I can tell you though that if you do have a Holly and you want to get it ready for high elevation, you're going to lose power. The truck is
Oh,
an
yeah.
absolute
100%.
pig right now. It's an absolute pig right now. It does not want to get up and go. I feel like I've lost
Yeah.
compression or something. I'm always like, dude, this thing. I'm like slapping it on the ass, try to get it to go.
well,
So,
not only that, but this terrain too is
Yeah.
something that's taxing to everything.
yeah, it's true.
I don't know, maybe, what do you think terrain level here? Like, what's the challenge?
It's the
vehicle-wise?
highest. It's the
Vehicle-
highest challenge type of soil that you could drive in.
Yeah.
Period. Like there's nothing harder than this
Right.
to drive in, because
Yeah.
you'll think that you're gonna rip some cool volcanic berm that's like let's say it's as tall as one of these trees. Let's say it's like 60 feet high, and in a normal situation in Ocotillo Wells or Swing Arm even, you're just gonna go up there and accelerate and like do the
Just
berm.
rip it.
But if you just even get to just getting to the bottom, you're like buried,
Yeah.
and then as soon as you hit the uphill, your truck loses all momentum, and then you try to. I mean, you're gonna lose way more momentum than you would. So you have to gauge it, because if you get up high enough and then you lose momentum, you got a real problem on your hands
Right.
here.
Right.
So you're not gonna see a lot of berm shots here.
Which you
because-
had, you had to learn. Not only is it control the vehicle, but it's like, it's stopping. It's how much more you have to give it compared to other terrain. There's so many aspects to.
Well, you can't practice for this.
No.
It's lava.
Yeah, it's
Like
It
most
weighs
people talk
nothing.
about, like, oh, I liked riding in sand, or I like riding in a hard
Yeah.
pack, Ocotillo. But nobody's talking about riding in lava, you know?
Yeah, this
Not at
stuff
all.
weighs nothing, and
Yeah, it's
Paul was
insane.
kind of talking about it earlier when we got here. It's like you give the truck gas and it doesn't hook at all. It's pushing on nothing. So you're just digging yourself a hole until you find some kind of traction.
And one thing that's kind of strange too, like in Silver Lake, Paul was talking about how when he was hitting like the bottom of a jump, the transition, like all the sand would explode inside.
Oh,
The first day that he hit like really hard on the front end, he thought like he shattered glass somewhere. It just takes all these mini lava rocks and just explodes it into the motor of the truck, which I'm sure isn't the best on the truck, you know.
No.
We got a video
Sure,
that you can clip in here.
We'll find some piles of volcanic rock all over the place. So.
Yeah, you got your work cut out to
Oh yeah.
get all the rocks out.
I think this place is a bit taxing to do what we did, but held together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have any major issues with the truck. Another solid performance by the truck. That's 3 in a row.
But we,
and so
we do our due diligence to
up front,
keep the truck up and running. And
But even with the maintenance, you have the 3 episodes, Midwest Dirt Fest. You've been driving the piss out of that truck this year.
Yeah, I mean, Speed Metal, LS Fest. I mean, you name it, we've done it. So it's got to go back in the shop, and it's got to get looked at, and heims have to get replaced. And if you see a problem, you got to address it right away. You can't just blow it off. Everything has to get fixed. Everything has to get fixed. That's the goal. I mean, right now we have a little bit of a leak in the radiator, and we're milking it. At some point, we're gonna have to change the radiator, but right now we're just kind of topping it off and keeping it cool. So I'm not too worried about that. But you got to make mental note of those things. You know when it's time. So that's like for you pre-runner guys out there, just stay on top of it.
And that sort of stuff, like, yes, it is, it's a big thing for you to have like maybe an oil leak or a coolant leak or something simple that you can kind of keep maintained with topping it off while you're doing what you're doing. But if you have a blown out suspension part, then you say, I'll change it later, and you come out here and that breaks.
Yeah, if your heims are all blown out, or
that's a real big problem in my eyes. That's like a bigger issue than other stuff. It's number one, it's safety.
Yeah, I think if it's mechanical and it has to do with the motor running and transmission up and running and things like that, you can put it off a little bit as long as you're not overheating and stuff like that. You still need to address everything you can. Right. If it's a rear main seal and you just want to go on a trip, like maybe you just top it off with oil and call it good, you got a leak, whatever. But anything to do with structural chassis on the truck needs to get addressed right away. If it's a heim, or if it's a uniball, or if it's an arm, or if it is any of those components, anything with the steering. Steering will make you crash, chassis will make you crash. If it'll make you crash, then you got to get on it. If it'll make the engine stall, then you might let it slide for a little bit. But you still want to stay on top of your vehicles, and everybody
100%.
should know that. And when you get into pre-running, it's kind of what you sign up for. So you're going to be into it. You want to do it right. I mean, there's no point in going out and buying yourself a Ranger or something like that that's 4-linked, and you think you're going to go buy an $80,000 Ranger and that's going to be your last dollar that you spend on the truck. No, sir.
It's just the start.
You're going to be spending thousands of dollars a year. Otherwise, that thing's just going to sit in a pile in your garage and it's going to be a wreck, and you're going to probably end up selling it for less than you bought it for, and it's just a bad overall thing. So if you do want to get into it, like, I strongly suggest taking it seriously and having a budget for it. Similar to a racer, I guess, you got to have a budget for it. If you don't have a budget for it, it's not going to get done, and then you're going to have a broken truck sitting there in your backyard collecting rust. Yep. That is pretty sad to see when someone's got a nice 4-link pre-runner and it's under a rip tarp in the back 40.
100%.
And you're just like, man, that thing you could have so much fun with that thing, and you can't do anything with it because you let it go.
Probably more common than not. You see a lot of those.
Yeah, so I mean, preaching again, but I think it's just part of the game. Like
it totally is part of the game. I mean,
and you don't have to be as serious as I am about it, but you should at least take it somewhat seriously.
I mean, Paul, you drive a ton. I mean, this last year you have been every month. You've been driving the truck a couple times a month.
To the highest, not to the highest level. I can't say.
It's
not to the racing level.
You're not racing it, but I mean, it's still very taxing on everything. I mean, it's
for sure.
I think too, on a filmer's perspective, like today doing the whoop sections.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a lot of trust on our side.
Yeah.
To stand in front of a truck going 75 miles an hour.
Yep.
Through whoops.
Through turns like that too.
I mean, we've filmed hundreds and hundreds of hours of pre-runner content, but it never leaves my brain. Like, I was standing directly in front of Paul hauling ass directly to my face, and all I can think about is, what if a wheel snaps off? What if, like what's my exit point if something does go wrong? Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of trust too on our side of it. Just Paul has to trust that truck to make sure that something crazy is not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and then when we're filming, like there's other bodies around that shot,
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Like obviously as a filmer, you want to trust your driver, and you have to have the utmost trust of the driver. But if you don't have trust in the driver's program in fixing the truck, then it's almost just as bad as maybe an erratic driver when you have, you go, well, this guy doesn't prep his truck. Like, I'm not going to stand in front of this thing. Like, he doesn't prep it. So if he loses a freaking,
anything. Stuff can happen to a prep truck. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it can, but your odds are a little bit better when you
100%. Yeah.
So, that goes through my mind in a different aspect. I'm always double checking things in my mind I'll jump into the truck when we go and do a test, and I'm just like, okay, everything we did was, I double check, triple check everything before it leaves the shop, gets on a trailer. But you still have that in your mind, and I'm sure it's. I hope it doesn't pass Paul's mind, because that's one less thing he should be thinking about when he's driving. But
I do want to know about it though.
Yeah.
Like if there's anything wrong with it,
well,
I want to. First of all, I want to know how to do it, and then I want to. So I'm obviously learning a lot from you, but I also want to know what got done so I can kind of look for that if that can be an issue or whatever. I need to know about it. And then as far as Nick goes, like he's also put his money where his mouth is. Like he doesn't just like keep up on the truck and then hey go have fun or whatever. I told him, hey, you want to be a co-driver at the LS Fest? He's like, sure. So he jumps in the passenger seat. There's a lot of people that are nervous to jump in the passenger seat with these trucks, and I would say more than 50% of people will not usually jump in the passenger seat. So he jumped in at LS Fest, which is kind of a mellow event minus the water on the track, and so it's not too bad. If they would have just kept it a little drier, it wouldn't have been sketchy at all. And then speed metal, which is fairly sketchy. It's big jumps. You can feel the whole chassis like soaking that jump up. The whole chassis bends when you land on the jumps that big. It's so, and you were co-driving for that too. So he's not just like one to be like, oh, go have fun. Like I was like, hey, it'd be nice if you could co-drive. And he's like, and so that puts the onus on him as well, a little extra. I don't want to make him nervous, but it's like, hey,
he's willing to go into a truck.
If he's willing to jump in the truck that he prepped, then it's like, okay, he's a legit dude, and he trusts my driving, and I learned things from him too, because he came from the drift world, and it's a different driving style. It's a different, but he does have a lot of good input from the drift world as to how to pitch the truck certain ways. And anytime he says, dude, you ripped that corner, I'm always like, I feel like a little bit better than if just any random person says, you drifted that perfectly or whatever. When he says it, it's a little bit different because he's drifted cars. He's been in drift. He's done all of that stuff. So I do appreciate when, if I hear it from him, I'm like, that's like another level for me.
And I see it in your driving over last, I don't know, we've been maybe 2 years now almost.
Yeah, I think so. A couple seasons.
It's interesting to see your driving has definitely stepped up with that stuff. With being able to pitch the truck in different ways, being able to feel the momentum and the body roll and utilize the body roll to your advantage. That's a big thing for a driver, to be able to step up that level and be one with their vehicle.
Well, I think trips like this force him to get better and better and better.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because he's not. If we had 25 jumps out here that you can just keep hitting and sessioning those, like we wouldn't have done a lot of this other tight tree driving and like you drove your truck on the trailer today, just pinned it, drove it on the trailer, and it was like almost perfect.
It was like 4 inches off, 3 inches off.
Usually he's like head out the window looking, but to close the episode out, he just pinned it and
landed on the trailer. I need to actually review that video. We're about to get all the videos downloaded onto our drive, and tonight I'm actually looking forward to just watching some of the bangers that we got, because I really haven't seen too much. I've poked my head around the corner a few times, but I think we need to go through it like from the beginning and just watch the bangers and just be excited about what we're able to do. It's hard to enjoy it in the moment, I have to admit. It's hard to sit when we're doing what we're doing and we're in the zone. It's very hard to enjoy it like to its fullest degree because we're so in the pocket.
When you're looking at a workload that's like especially in the beginning of the week, it's on our shoulders to put an entire episode together. One thing I genuinely appreciated this week is the openness that everybody had. Like it's hard working with 4 different brains and ideas and all this stuff. Like Paul was saying last night, you know, throwing shit at the wall and seeing what stuck. And it was cool to see us all work together. I don't ever want to be the only one throwing ideas out. Paul doesn't want to be that. Cheer doesn't want to be that. Nick. So it's cool to work, and I thoroughly enjoy working with you guys. It was a good week.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, and this is also this is the first episode that we built the episode out in our brains before we left. So we had no idea we literally had no idea what the swing arm episode would be like because we didn't even know what our format was. We kind of knew what our format was, but we had no idea. And then once we got the template with the swing arm episode, we kind of applied that to Silver Lake, but then we had to get creative with it because we didn't have enough stuff. But we still didn't know what the Silver Lake, when we left Silver Lake, we did not know what that episode was going to look like. This time, I think we all have a good idea what the episode's going to look like, and we're 3 days in filming, we're done filming, and we also have an idea in our brains what the episode's going to be like. So I'm super stoked that we were able to come to a conclusion while we're out here as to what the episode's going to be like, because I think...
Yeah. It was crazy to see when I brought up the idea how well all of our brains automatically was like, yeah, and we're going to do this and that and this, and it just started clicking over
yeah, it
and
was
over
just
and
like
over.
yeah, it was
just
like
flowed, and we're just like, cool.
That's why I said in the intro that we did, the BTS intro, the first day. Like if we can't all be just open to like throw whatever ideas out, whether they're good or bad. Like you never know until
you can't be scared to be told, no, it's a dumb idea, or
something will click at some point, and that's what happened last night.
Well, I think also if you're a legit person and you're not, you don't have an ego, then when you throw out an idea that's garbage, like you almost know it immediately after it comes out of your mouth. You're like, that was a terrible idea.
Yep.
So like you can't just like, you know what I mean? So
you might have to try and sell it for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, you try to sell it, and then you're like, you know what, I'm full of shit, and then everybody's like, yeah, you are, so just be quiet for a second. And then, yeah, I mean, it gets heated for a little bit there, but like I said, we're all adults and we can all handle it.
I mean, it's not like, it might feel a little tensiony, but it's not, it's nothing crazy.
You have to have that.
You get over it in seconds. It's not, but I think we all have that, though.
I think you have to have that.
It's creativity. As a filmer, I think that's like doing our side of it as filmers. It's like it's an art. It's an art form, and not everything you put out as art is going to be amazing.
Right.
You have to trial and error stuff, and I think there's a lot on the table for us with this. Swing Arm City did really good. Silver Lake was a different story. And I think for all of us, we want to redeem ourselves with some gangster-ass episode right now.
Well, I really enjoyed the whole experience. It was awesome. I mean,
this guy rode around on this lava rock on a 70 the entire time. Dude, super sick.
First, day and a half?
Yeah.
With a loose jet?
Oh, yeah, with a loose jet with no power. Fix that.
Top speed of 3?
Yeah, dude. And riding a 70 in this stuff it's a different thing.
It's hard.
The 150 rips, though.
Hell yeah, it does.
Super stoked with that thing. I don't even know if I'd want a big bike out, like to do
jump
scouting.
The Peloton.
The Peloton.
The Suron, now deemed the Peloton by Paul.
I'm actually impressed with that thing. It made it to the top of the volcano. I mean, that's impressive for an electric bike to make it up at a volcano.
I beat the piss out of that bike this week, and it...
Dude, you were ripping through the whoops, like...
Yeah.
That thing held. So.
That was insane.
Prep work. Spent like half a day kind of checking things over, replacing some stuff, and...
I'm glad we prepped all the bikes, too.
There we go.
Yeah, we did a prep on the bikes. They were beat.
My 450 got zero prep.
Zero prep.
I took it out at King of Hammers. I put it in a shed right after that. I took it out the day before we left for here.
Yeah.
Started it. ran it for 10 seconds, and then brought it out here.
Well,
and then rode the piss out of it all week.
now it just needs what? A chain, a sprocket, and tire.
Yeah.
So don't
And
get
oil change.
don't get down on the Cinders as being, subpar for off-roading. This place is epic. It's one of the
Definitely epic.
I would say it's one of the top places to off-road. It's just when we're doing a specific thing, it's hard to mold this place to that specific thing.
Right.
So
I think if you're into trail riding for bikes or Jeeps, like he was saying, this place is epic.
Dude, even
Like,
just
it is
camping
a-
out here.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's just beautiful too. We're at 7,000 feet, so it's high and probably snows out here
Cool
for sure.
weather.
And it's beautiful. We haven't seen too much wildlife. I thought there would be like a lot more deer and stuff like that. Haven't seen too many.
No.
So
Some cool
but it's
white-tailed squirrels out here.
Couple
great
tip-
weather though,
tip
because
kittens.
it's 108 back home, and there's fires everywhere in California, and we're up here by ourselves with no one around, enjoying the 70 degree weather.
Yep.
Just feeling like absolute pieces of crap for just ditching on everyone and just hanging out here. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Flagstaff is maybe not for this, but is a comeback too for sure.
Well, flight school has brought us to 3 different states now,
It's about to bring us to 4,
which is badass.
and then it's going to bring us to 5.
yeah. And I mean, we could have done this series in Ocotillo. I mean, you probably could do a whole season in Ocotillo. After going to different states and seeing the lack of, like, we take Ocotillo for granted. I do, for sure.
Yeah.
I complain about filming at Ocotillo, and now going through all these places, like we drove through Ocotillo to get out here, and we looked over, and I mean, there's like hundreds of jumps right off the road.
Yep.
Could be. I mean, maybe
I
they're
mean,
not, but
I mean, we take it for granted, but I think, there's a reason why Southern California,
it's like the
California
Mecca.
in general, is the mecca for pre-runners.
Ocotillo, Johnson Valley,
Superstition.
Superstition.
I mean, you have
Everything.
everything. So,
But terrain, I mean, landscape-wise, we definitely don't get this. Like you have the pros and cons of both.
maybe
I think-
someone out there might know a spot that's great for pre-runners in another area in Arizona.
Yeah, where's the hidden honeypot? Which
Yeah.
state?
Yeah, we got season 1 pretty much slated out, but between season 1 and season 2, if we can keep doing this, we're going to probably reach out to the Instagram community and ask where we should go next. I think we've talked about it a little bit, but gotten a few answers. The normal ones, Glamis, Pismo, stuff like that, but we'll have to see. I'd rather have something a little different. That's why we're here at the Cinders, because you don't see pre-runners out here all that often. They do come out here, but it's very rare. And then same with Swing Arm, and Silver Lake just happened to be Midwest Dirt Fest. We know there's a pre-runner community out there. It's not California, so it was cool. We want your ideas for places to go to be off the beaten path. We don't want your ideas to just be Glamis. I mean, everybody knows that. My truck does terribly in Glamis, doesn't have enough power, 6,000 pounds. Get a sand car if you want to go to Glamis. Don't drive your pre-runner in Glamis. You can if you want, but it's like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's
go
same
get a
with-
sand car that weighs 2,000 pounds that has 1,000 horsepower. Go have a great old time. Like,
Yeah.
the pre-runners in Glamis, I don't know. It's
It's
cool.
hard- it's hard
It's
on 'em.
cool, and it's
It's a
hard
cool
on the trucks.
location. It's just, it's rough on the truck.
Well, I
It's-
mean, it's Havasu of desert.
Yeah, it's party time.
Everybody goes to the same jump. I mean, even Ocotillo, there's a lot of that. I think that's why I've kind of gotten numb to Ocotillo in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to film Devil Slide every time I go out there. I don't want to film, I want to see
it's
like
not even the jumps in Ocotillo. It's everyone, they all flock to certain areas, and it's like there's so much to it that, to explore too. I mean, there is a lot there. But
there's a ton.
I mean, I'll just give it away. We're probably going to do the intro at Fonts Point,
yeah.
and
For sure.
I'm just going to give it away now. We're just going to do it at Fonts Point. And there's probably like 80% of the people that go to Ocotillo that are always like, where is that?
Yeah.
They have no
Like,
idea
you don't know where Fonts
they have no
Point
idea
is.
what it is.
You've been going to Ocotillo for 20 years. You don't know where Fonts Point is. Like,
Well, you just took me there for the first time this year.
it's the most epic view. You think you're in a different state
Mm-hmm.
because of the way it's laid out. Like, it's basically the Badlands of Borrego. But I'm just going to give it away because like that's the kind of stuff like people don't venture out and explore. They're just like, you know, they barely make it to Devil's Slide one night and then they go back to camp. It's like, you know, I think people should get out. Like I ask people like, you go to the Flintstones and check it out, and they're like, Flintstones, what's that?
Right.
Okay. You know, it's like I feel like people should just get out more and like try to find stuff or talk to people about different places they can go. Because there's tons of places out in Ocotillo. I haven't even covered it all, and I feel like I'm out there always exploring. So I mean, I
think this is going to give you a different perspective for Ocotillo.
Yeah.
When you go out there,
100%.
We're gonna find
like
some new stuff.
how hard we've had to look for jumps in some of these places. I feel like if you use that same
mentality
in Ocotillo, you'll be looking at things way different than what you used to, you know?
Yeah, they're gonna start popping out more because there's more options.
Like
So-
you've made a lot of something out of nothing with here, you know?
Yeah.
And
Here's a big one.
so Ocotillo, maybe we'll hit 250 one of these days. I don't know.
Who knows?
It's getting cold. You want to wrap this up?
Yeah, I think I just want to say to wrap this up. I know not a lot of people watch the BTS, but we think it's important for extra information on how we do this stuff. Maybe it's more for our benefit to like basically put a nice little ribbon around the episode, and it gives us mind closure on it and all that stuff. So, but I appreciate everyone who's watching Flight School and everybody who watches the BTS. The way we're going to do the BTS is we're going to release the BTS for 2 weeks or so, and then we're going to put it into memberships on YouTube. So it'll always be there. If you want, you can sign up for memberships and watch the BTS, but it's going to be free for a couple weeks or whatever, and then we're going to slide it over to memberships just so it doesn't bombard our video playlist. So like Swing Arm City BTS disappeared. It's on memberships right now, and I'm not going to ask you guys to like pay money and sign up right now. We'll talk about that in the future with how we're doing things with Flight School. We do have to figure out some avenues to fund some of this in the coming season, and we're gonna try our best to. We don't want to ask the fans for money. We want to do as much as we can to make this organic, and maybe get some corporate sponsors, and maybe get some merchandise going and things like that, so we can offer you guys something for your donation. Basically, like if you buy a shirt, then it's basically all that money goes into a pot which generates or sits into a pot for Flight School money. We're not living off of it or anything like that. It's strictly to generate these episodes for you guys. So we'd like to offer obviously merchandise for that. It may come a time where we also talk about maybe behind the scenes stuff that you guys get to see, or upfront stuff that you get to see part of the episode before it airs, stuff like that on memberships and subscriptions. But we do need to start figuring some things out here, so we can continue doing what we love to do.
It's a good idea. Do like one of the banger sections.
Yeah,
for memberships.
I think we'll want to reach out to our fan base. It sounds weird to say fan base, but if you guys are watching and you enjoy these, then we do need to at some point try to figure out how to make them financially feasible. It's just each episode is it's a lot to logistically, time off wise for everyone. We all have regular jobs, so it's a lot. We'd like to jump and do it full time, but right now we can't. So, but maybe our fan base, if it gets big enough and there's people that enjoy what we're putting together, and maybe if they know that it's going to go away if nothing happens, then maybe we can work something out that way with everything. But I do want to thank you for watching. Any likes and subscribes and views, all that stuff helps us to be able to go to people and say, hey, this video is doing pretty well, and maybe we can start, advertising products. We'll try not to be gross with it, but if there's a good product that we stand behind and it helps me do what I do, then why not? It's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. So,
yeah, you can incorporate stuff that you believe in.
Yeah, I think it's got to be stuff that we use and we like, and it makes Flight School better. If it's not, then we probably won't. So, yeah, so I just wanted to thank all the fans out there and people that are watching, because there are people watching. It would be nice, to have more, but there are people that definitely want to see the next episode. They're ready and waiting for episode 3, so stay tuned for that. It's coming up in 1 month. By the time you see this, it'll already have aired.
Rad. Yeah. Well, we'll see you guys on episode 4, BTS.
Yeah, another podcast style BTS.
Right.
Peace.